Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is Sunday, October 21st, 2018, the 12th of Cheshvan, 5779. Hope you're doing well in your part of the world. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with me, Josh at thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, it's Joshua Hasten, and on Twitter, at Josh Hasten. I am in Jerusalem. My main man, Binyamin Bresky, is also somewhere in Jerusalem. This is amazing, the technology we have today, how he can connect myself and our next guest, and we'll get to her in just a minute. We've talked about this on the show in the past, the illegal squatting village, if you want to call it a village, of Khan Al-Amar, located off Highway 1 in between Jerusalem and the Dead Sea. Now, Israel's Supreme Court ruled that the village must be taken down and the residents relocated. Israel has provided numerous solutions as to where those Bedouin residents should go. Again, remember, this is an illegal village. The Supreme Court of Israel said it has had to come down. And this has been going on for years. And as we were approaching, I guess, a date in the near future that the village would actually come down, Prime Minister Netanyahu last night made a statement in which he said that while eventually the village will be evacuated, he is postponing the move for now. Joining us to discuss the situation here in regard to Khan Al-Amar is Naomi Kahn, the Director of the International Division of the organization Regavim. Those of you who know me know that I used to be affiliated with that amazing organization. Naomi, welcome to Israel Uncensored.
Thank you for having me.
So here we have, once again in the news, Khan Al-Amar. For weeks now, members of the European Union, other countries, extremist NGOs in Israel have been calling on the Israeli government not to evacuate Khan Al-Amar. And it looks like the Prime Minister, while he says he will eventually, it looks like he caved and is delaying that move indefinitely. What is Regavim's response?
Our response is that this is a shameful capitulation to demands by the Palestinian Authority and the Europeans who are backing the Palestinian Authority. There's absolutely no other way to understand this. The Prime Minister has postponed indefinitely until further notice, quote unquote, in order to entertain further possibilities for, I don't even know what, compromise. This, of course, is ridiculous after 10 years of legal proceedings, compromise, discussions between the civil administration and these illegal squatters and their representatives from the Palestinian Authority, and numerous Supreme Court decisions stating that this is an illegal outpost and has to be removed. So I don't know exactly what further discussions have to be held, but Regavim feels that this is absolutely an outrageous injustice, because equal enforcement of the law is the only thing that will allow us to move forward as a civilized country. And this is a clear case of unequal law enforcement in cases such as Netiv Avot and Ofra and Beit El. When the Supreme Court made a decision, it was carried out down to the very last letter. And in this case, for 10 years, Supreme Court rulings have been ignored, and the situation on the ground has worsened every day.
Why do you think, Naomi, we're talking to Naomi Kahn, Director of the International Division for Regavim, why do you think this particular incident has gained so much notoriety? I mean, you had a member of the extremist organization B'Tselem talk about Khan Al-Amar at the UN Security Council last week. You've had the European Union threatening, essentially, Israel, do not take down this illegal shanty town. How is it possible that this tiny, tiny village off the side of the road on Kvish number 1, and I don't want to downplay the relevance in terms of where it is, and I want you to also go into what the real goal is here in terms of the Palestinian Authority, but how's this little story, which is an internal Israeli matter, garnered so much international attention, in your opinion?
Well, it's not a coincidence. The reason that Khan Al-Amar was created, the reason it is where it is because it's not just some innocent little collection of Bedouin tents. What happened here is that the Palestinian Authority, backed by the European Union, created this village, this outpost, in order to take control illegally of land that is under full Israeli jurisdiction. The fact that they're on the major highway in a location that bisects the state of Israel and threatens Israel's capital, Jerusalem, is not a coincidence. The Bedouin didn't just happen to wander into the area. What happened was that the Palestinian Authority placed water tankers there, and the European Union helped fund the creation of a school there in order to draw the local Bedouin tribes that were grazing in the area to stay there, to settle there, and to hold on to the land. They're using them as pawns or as place markers in order to keep them on this very, very strategic spot. So it's no coincidence that they're there, and it's no coincidence that this is such a big issue. It's a flagship issue. This is the first, the most prominent at the moment of a large string, a whole network actually, of illegal Palestinian outposts that are being manned by Bedouin. And it's part of the larger plan publicized by the Palestinian Authority as far back as 2005, called the Fayyad Plan, for creating a Palestinian state specifically in Area C, without the need for negotiation of any kind, without any compromise with the State of Israel, specifically in areas that were placed by the Oslo Accords under full Israeli jurisdiction for future negotiation. So Khan Al-Amar is a placekeeper, it's a flagship, and it's the first in this entire network of illegal outposts to actually come to the courts. If the state capitulates in this case, this won't be the first. It will be a huge domino effect. It will have very far-ranging impact on the state of Israel's ability to continue its jurisdiction in Area C and to protect Jerusalem and to exert sovereignty on its capital and for the future of any possible negotiated resolution of the status of these areas.
So this is a real test case for those of you who are not familiar. And again, this is right off of Highway 1 as you're driving to the Dead Sea. And this is a strategic, yeah, you're right, just right off the highway.
But the highway. This is also a violation of the Oslo Agreements, which states specifically, I believe it's Annex 1, Section 2, Paragraph 12, if I'm not mistaken, that there's a buffer zone along major thoroughfares. No construction of any kind is permitted, not by Jews, not by Arabs, not by Bedouin, not by anyone. So placing these houses and these structures right where they are is a violation of law, of international law, of signed international agreements, and it's wrong in so many ways. The State of Israel, the Supreme Court, which is generally considered impartial and fully procedurally correct, has found over and over and over again that this is an illegal outpost and must be removed. And the government of Israel is buckling to pressure.
And as you said, the people there, pawns of the Palestinian Authority who are keeping them there on purpose as part of the Fayyad strategic plan to take over what is known as Area C. That's the area in Judea and Samaria that's under Israeli control, both militarily and from a municipal perspective. And the goal is that when talks happen down the road, that they'll say, well, look, we have a town here. This area is ours in any further negotiations or agreement. I mean, that's the goal, to place facts on the ground. Now, Naftali Bennett, Minister Bennett, said this morning that this is unacceptable, that Khan Al-Amar must be removed immediately. None of this business about indefinite. The government, as you know, time and time again has put up different proposals. Do you think that the Jewish Home Party, led by Naftali Bennett, and those who agree with him in terms of this situation, in terms of this case, do you think they have the power to influence or create a situation on the ground where it actually is removed? Or is it, really as a result of the Prime Minister pushed off indefinitely, and there's nothing can be done until he decides to do it? What's the situation?
This should be an issue that not only the Jewish Home Party should be supporting. As a matter of fact, Minister of Defense Lieberman from the Israel Beitenu Party and others, and we're hoping that Likud ministers and Likud members of Knesset will express themselves as well. This is a critical issue in terms of, in so many ways, strategically, militarily, for the future development of the area and for the future of possible negotiations for, in so many ways, this is the flagship issue. Now, what we've seen is that there was a report that the evacuation was suspended in order to allow the residents of Khan Al-Amar to voluntarily relocate 500 meters away from their current location. And this is what the Prime Minister has held up the evacuation in order to facilitate. We believe that this would be even worse than leaving this illegal outpost where it is, because the minute the government of Israel gives an official recognition for this sort of settlement in Area C, they'll never be able to remove it. And this will create a completely new reality in Area C, and in Area E1 specifically. Area E1, just to remind you, Prime Minister Netanyahu ran one of his major campaign commitments was to build thousands of housing units in Area E1. He didn't say that he was going to create these housing units for the Arab population. Everybody understood that he meant Jewish population. But since that time, not one single structure has been built by Jews in the E1. The State of Israel has scrupulously upheld its part of the agreement and has never built in this area in order to allow negotiation. Officially allowing construction of an Arab/Bedouin village in this area will be the end of whatever agreements and whatever possibility we have of making sense of this area.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that even back in the 90s, Prime Minister Rabin actually said that he also would build an E1. I mean, this is something going on for decades now, yet all you have in E1 is a lone Israeli police station and nothing else. I want to know one last question, Naomi. What is Regavim doing at this juncture? I know Regavim has been working on this case for, I believe, a decade, as you mentioned, that this has been an issue. What is Regavim going to do now in lieu of the Prime Minister's statement and his decision to suspend the evacuation of this illegal squatters community indefinitely?
So we've invited members of Knesset and ministers, members of the Land of Israel lobby within the Knesset, members of right-wing and centrist parties to come out for an emergency tour of the area, to see Khan Al-Amar, to see its location, and to see the location of the alternative that has already been prepared for these people by the state, so that they can get a better idea of exactly what the nature of this outpost is, and to see it in relationship to the rest of this network of illegal outposts that has been created by the Palestinians and the European Union that is currently taking control of the area illegally. So that's our first line of defense, is to bring the lawmakers out and see for themselves out on the ground. After that, we hope that the Prime Minister will hear from his own supporters, from his government, from members of his party and others, enough information to help him change his mind and to implement the Supreme Court's decision.
Naomi Kahn, Director, International Division of Regavim. If people want to learn more about this case, Khan Al-Amar, or Regavim's other activities, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, Messenger on Facebook, our Facebook page, Regavim Israel. You can also email me directly, n.regavim@gmail.com, or look on our website, Regavim Israel.
I appreciate your time, Naomi Kahn. I know you're extremely busy in lieu of the current situation here with Khan Al-Amar, but go to the website, get in touch with Naomi if you have questions, if you want to get involved in all their important activities and standing up for justice here in the land of Israel and safeguarding the land of Israel. Thanks for your time. Shavua Tov, and let's hear good things.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a break right now. Come back with more news. You're listening to Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. My name is Josh Hasten. Get in touch with me during the week. I love your emails. Josh@thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, it's Joshua Hasten. And on Twitter, @Josh Hasten. Quick break, and we'll be back with the news.
Torah thoughts and inspiration from the heartland of Israel. Tune in every week to The Soul of Israel with Rabbi Shlomo Katz on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.
And we are back. Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com for Sunday, October 21st, 2018, the 12th of Cheshvan 5779. When you're listening to this, it will be on Monday, October 22nd. I'm recording here on Sunday because tomorrow I will be going to the GA, the General Assembly for Jewish Federations out of the U.S. This year it's being held in Tel Aviv. I'll be doing some reporting from the General Assembly there, hence recording here on Sunday. I want to just thank again Naomi Kahn, the Director of the International Division of the Regavim Organization. And if you're in any way, shape, or form confused about what's going on here, I just want to restate what just happened. You have an illegal squatting village alongside Highway 1. This is a Bedouin village. And these people are there as pawns of the Palestinian Authority, who put them there in order that they will cause this chaos and mayhem for Israel. For them, I mean, it's a strategic land grab in what is known as Area C of Judea and Samaria. And the PA is thrilled that they're there. The European Union has donated millions and millions of dollars to this community. If you want to call it a community, I call it a legal shanty town, which the Israeli Supreme Court said must go because it is on land, state land, which is not theirs, and they're squatting there, and they have to go. And yet, as a result of all the pressure from the European Union and from anti-Israel NGOs based in Israel, they are still there, and the Prime Minister of Israel has unfortunately caved and said that they are going to remain there indefinitely until there is some type of solution. He said they will be removed. Okay, he said that this morning they will be removed after last night saying that they will not be evacuated. So, in other words, this has been going on, as Naomi said, for 10 years, and they're still squatting. And it's not only dangerous for those who are driving on the road. And by the way, Regavim, I've seen Regavim pictures of photos of kids in that village throwing rocks down on the cars below. It's dangerous for the Bedouin who live there. They're living alongside a major highway. And these kids I've seen run back. I've been there. I've seen these kids run back and forth across the highway. It is dangerous for the Bedouin, and they need to move. Israel came up with solutions. They said no, because of course the PA wants them to stay there in this strategic thoroughfare alongside the road between Jerusalem and the Dead Sea. So as of now, they are going to get their wish and stay there. Maybe the Prime Minister down the road will evacuate the community and enforce the rulings of the Supreme Court, but that remains to be seen. Anyway, it's an important canary in the coal mine, if you will, for illegal Arab building, and it's a situation being monitored by the world over, with so many dead in Syria and all this other stuff going on, the Saudi journalist being killed, and all this other stuff. The focus yet again is on trying to help these illegal squatters. That's the international community's focus. Forget about the 500,000 Syrians and everything else going on. Yemen, you take your pick of more important news. But this is the focus of the UN, the EU, and others. At the same time, reported by the Jerusalem Post, Hamas has rejected an Egyptian request to halt the weekly demonstrations. I'll call them demonstrations. I call them violent riots along the border between Gaza and Israel, reported by the Jerusalem Post. The source said the Egyptian intelligence officials who met with Hamas last Thursday demanded the protesters stay at least 500, also demanded they stay at least 500 meters away from the border. Hamas said no, will continue these violent attempted infiltrations into Israel. This past Friday, 10,000 Arabs, again, living under Hamas in Gaza, demonstrated, and this was seen as a mild demonstration, a small demonstration, if you will. Nevertheless, on Saturday night, an IDF aircraft struck a cell of Arabs who had launched these incendiary aerial devices from the southern Gaza Strip into Israel earlier that day. causing fires in the Be'eri forest and the Shokeda forest near the border. The IAF, the Israel Air Force, on Friday also attacked terrorist squads in that area. Again, all of this, and it's still considered a small demonstration, so small and non-violent, and I say that sarcastically with attempted infiltrations and whatnot, that for some reason Israel today on Sunday reopened the crossings into Gaza, allowing people and goods, reported by the Times of Israel, in and out of the coastal enclave, following, it says here, a decrease in violence. So only a few fires, only a few balloons, only a few, rather 10,000 demonstrators, rioters, terrorists on Friday coming out. And somehow we are continuing to enable Hamas, continuing to leave them in power by not taking meaningful steps against that terror organization. It's enabling to keep providing them humanitarian aid, which they don't always give to their people, which they use to continue to build tunnels, continue to fire rockets, manufacture rockets, fire rockets. Yet, according to this report, Defense Minister Lieberman, his office said that his decision to reopen the crossings was made in consultation with Israel Defense Forces, the Security Service, the Shin Bet, and Kogat, the coordinator of government activities in the territories. Again, we have a situation where the borders are open, the borders are closed. Open, closed, open, closed. You know, the punishment, I guess, if you want to call it that, is to close the border for a day or two instead of just keeping it closed once and for all. If they need aid, go to Egypt. Israel does not have to enable Hamas. I've been saying this now for months and months and months. You turn off the electricity, you stop sending humanitarian aid, you let the residents in Gaza realize that Hamas, because of them, they're living in the situation that they're living in now, which perhaps isn't as bad as the world would make it out to be, with new malls opening and whatnot in Gaza. Obviously, they have issues and unemployment and whatnot, but Hamas is the address, not Israel. We should stop enabling Hamas. Eventually, I mean, I would love to see Gush Katif reopen there, resettled and reopen there in Gaza, but until then, shut the border, stop giving them the aid, stop enabling Hamas. That's the bottom line. Trump advisor and Middle East envoy Jason Greenblatt, who we had on the show, I think about a month ago, from the White House, penned an op-ed in the Jerusalem Post. It appears in the Sunday paper, saying the U.S. administration vehemently opposes everything which Hamas, a terrorist organization that targets and hides behind innocents, stands for. Hamas will never defeat Israel, he says, and each rocket, flaming swastika displaying kite, and terror tunnel brings Gaza closer to destruction, not to prosperity. He continues, the U.S., as we have said many times, cares for the Palestinian people, wants to help, but we will not empower a regime that launches attacks on Israeli kindergartens. I agree. Check out the entire op-ed by Jason Greenblatt in the Jerusalem Post. The U.S. says they will not empower that regime, so Israel should also not empower that regime and cut off that aid once and for all. Shut down that border. An attack was thwarted, a terror attack was thwarted in Har Adar, just outside of Jerusalem. It's in Judea and Samaria, outside of Jerusalem on Saturday, according to this report from Ma'ariv. A 20-year-old Palestinian, it says here, was arrested in Har Adar just before committing a terrorist attack, according to a preliminary interrogation. They found this 20-year-old with a knife, and they thought he was from the village of Kfar Katana. They thought he was about to carry out an attack, and of course Har Adar sustained a horrible, horrible terror attack not too long ago, in September 2017. At the entrance to the community, a worker who had authority to work in that community arrived in the morning with a gun, killing a border policeman, 2 security guards, and the security officer for that community of Har Adar. So not a stranger to, unfortunately, terrorism in that community, but thank God in this case, that attack was thwarted. On Thursday, this past Thursday in New York, of course, we had the Director General of the anti-Israel organization, Chagai Elad B'Tselem, the organization which does so much damage against the state of Israel, against the IDF. He was invited to address the UN Security Council. I believe we mentioned in the last week's show that he was scheduled to do so. Today, on Sunday, Likud MK Nava Boker appealed to the Attorney General, Avichai Mandelblit, and the Israeli Corporations Authority. They're the ones who regulate business and nonprofits in Israel, calling on them to dismantle B'Tselem. This reported by the J Post. Boker said the organization denies the existence of the state and its democratic character, should therefore be dismantled. Of course, Elad, who spoke at the UN Security Council about Gaza, said that he said the following. He said, this is what he said, "I'm not a traitor, nor am I a hero. The heroes are the Palestinians who endure this occupation with courage and perseverance." Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, told him, "You're a wretched collaborator." That's what he said. And here you have B'Tselem, this organization who puts out these phony reports about so-called Israeli war crimes without any evidence, completely skewed, who supported the Goldstone report in 2009 against Israel, an organization funded by a European Union countries, funded by the New Israel Fund. This organization goes to the UN to bash the state of Israel. So-called Israeli organization. I can't say they're a true Israeli organization. I hope that they are dismantled. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be a good thing if this organization was, in fact, dismantled. Other things to talk about, but we're going to finish here on some good news, some positive news here in the world of Israeli sports. 10 Jewish American baseball players gained Israeli citizenship, can now help the country's national team in international competition leading up to the 2020 Olympics, reported by JTA. A group of American professional baseball players are now Israelis. The players together applied for, received citizenship this past Wednesday in Jaffa. They and their supporters waved Israeli flags, sang Israeli songs as they entered the office, went through the process of becoming citizens. They all left the office carrying their Tudat Zeuts, their national identity cards. The players want to represent Israel at the Olympics in Tokyo. Some of them also represented Israel in last year's World Baseball Classic. And if you remember, this is where Team Israel got all the way to the quarterfinals, shocking the competition. Anyway, congratulations to these U.S. baseball players who are now Israelis here in Israel. And hopefully, who knows, maybe one day Israel will have a baseball team in the Olympics. On that note, we will wrap up the show. My name is Josh Hasten. This is Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com for the 21st of October, 2018, the 12th of Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan 5779. Get in touch with me during the week. Josh at thelandofisrael.com on Facebook, Joshua Hasten on Twitter, at Josh Hasten. Big shout out to Binyamin Bresky for putting the show together. Our wonderful engineer, Tabitha Epstein, who gets the shows up and available to you on SoundCloud, on the website, Facebook, and all the other iTunes, all the other outlets as well. Most importantly, between now and when we speak again next week, everyone out there in the wonderful world of ours, be safe. Have a great week, everyone. Shalom, shalom from beautiful Jerusalem. All the best.
It's much more real than any reality show. It's much more dramatic than any drama. It's much more funny than any comedy. It's like a game show, but it's no game. It's our lives.
Listen to Inside Israel Today with Gil Hoffman, political correspondent for the Jerusalem Post, every week on thelandofisrael.com.